There could be changes coming to divorce law when it comes to pets. In BC, family courts, pets used to be considered property when it came to asset division, but now they will be treated as members of the family with considerations such as who looks after the animal the most and who has the best relationship with the pet. For a closer look at these possible changes, we're joined by Camille Labchuk. She's the executive director at Animal Justice. Welcome to the studio.
Good morning.
So pet custody used to be decided based on who was more considered financially responsible, or lawyers should say parties decide between themselves in court. That was sort of how it went before. What's changed with this new legislation?
Yeah, previously, judges would often just look at who paid the cost of purchasing a dog or a cat.
Right.
And now they're supposed to look at who's got the relationships with the animal. So who has historically cared for the animal throughout the relationship? How did the animal join the relationship? Was there a greater connection with one of the spouses? Is there any relationship with a child who might be involved in the proceedings? And who can care best for the animal in the future?
So then the onus then comes on the two parties to be able to provide evidence if there is a dispute over who gets this pet.
That's right. So the judge is going to look at all the facts in the case, all the evidence the parties provide, and make a decision that hopefully is fair.
We know that pets need a lot. There's vet visits, which are private, right? They're all paid for out of pocket. Beds, foods, treats, all of those things. There's spousal support and child support. Can we be looking at something like pet support for the other party who is not taking care of the pet full time?
It's an interesting question. The law doesn't say specifically that there's anything about that, but you could imagine that when a divorce settlement is being worked out or when the division of assets is being worked out, that there could be some consideration of those factors.
So animal rights groups have thrown their support behind these legislative changes. They think that they're good in mind for the pets. Do they think these are better than what exists right now?
Absolutely. So the tragic history of pet custody cases in Canada is that people are often left unsatisfied. Judges often consider animals as pure property. They sort of laugh at people who come to court with help with this really difficult issue of who gets the dog or the cat. One judge in Saskatchewan compared pets to butter knives and threatened to order the dogs sold and the cash divided between the parties because he was so frustrated that this had come before him in court. And other times there's just unsatisfactory outcomes and people don't have a lot of clarity around what approach is going to be taken.
Could we be looking at visitation schedules set up for pets similar to how we sometimes see with children?
I don't think we'll see that. The law specifically says that they're not going to order joint custody of animals.
Okay.
And that is probably a good thing because it provides clarity and not an ongoing relationship between people who are separating. But if the spouses want to create their own joint custody or visitation agreement, they can still do that.
You know, divorces are hard on every party, and having to prove sort of relationship and all of those things that come into a custody battle over a pet can it make things a lot harder, I imagine, in going through the proceedings.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be difficult to grapple with these really messy questions in an emotional time. But I actually think that this is at least fairer. And it's not that much different from what we already have, where people are already coming to court and trying to prove that they own the animal and they paid for the animal.
Yeah, and on top of who owns it and who pays for it, remind us again, what other considerations will a judge be looking at?
Yeah, so they'll be looking at, how the animal came into the relationship, who's got the ability to care for the animal in the future, any relationship with the pet involving a child of the relationship, and importantly as well, whether any of the parties has a history of domestic violence or threats toward the animal.
And this is right now only being looked at in BC. It's the only province in the country.
BC now has these laws, but the rest of the country still needs to catch up.
All right, it's interesting to take a look at. Camille, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.